I'm delighted today to be speaking to Emma Nash, who's a partner at Rayden's Solicitors. Emma is a family law expert and founder of the Family Law Language Project. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you, David.
So nice to talk to you today. You've been a great supporter of PCD over the years, so people might have seen you at our events, but if they haven't, it'd be great to hear a little bit more about you and what you do at Rayden Solicitors.
Absolutely. Well, as you've mentioned, I'm a partner at Rayden Solicitors, and we're a niche family law firm, so that's all we do. My own practice cover most areas of family law, and that's, as you would expect, dealing with divorces, relationship breakdown, but also children disputes, and then ancillary matters such as pre and post nup, so the happier end of things, surrogacy, adoption, and I specialise in international work as well, so lots of international movement of children, recognition of foreign divorces and marriages and things like that.
You joined us in Geneva previously for an event, so the international side of your practice, very, very interesting. So the Family Law Language Project, something you found, it's something you're very passionate about. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about it?
Absolutely, be delighted to. So this started as a bit of a grumble article that I wrote for the Times a few years ago, complaining about misuse of a few terms in family law that bothered me because I knew they were incorrect and I could see that they were causing damage. And this coincided with a report that had been prepared by the Family Solutions Group, who were tasked with reviewing the entire family law system and coming up with identifying problems and coming up with solutions. And one of the problems they identified was the use of language, and they identified several problems with that, including use of adversarial language, which was contributing to parental conflict, misuse of language, not just by the public, by the media, but also by the profession as well, which was quite worrying. And
so it starts with the professionals, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And the language that they use.
If we're not using the right language, how on earth can we expect that to be taken by our clients, by the public, and by the media? So in consultation with them, or by encouragement by them, I launched the Family Law Language Project. We have a website, we've got a presence across social media, and we're out there to try and identify good use of language, misuse of language, and point it out in a positive way and say, hey, maybe this article you didn't quite get that right, and this is why it's a problem, and here's a better way of doing that. And we launched in November 2021, and since then we've also evolved, and what we're doing a lot of now is training. We're delivering training particularly to young professionals and young family lawyers about their use of language and the impact that it has on themselves, other professionals, and also on their cases and clients, because the adversarial use of language in correspondence is having a direct impact on the families that we're supposed to be helping, contributing to that parental conflict.
Why is it you think the current generation of partners, practitioners do use this adversarial language? What are some of the factors that lead this to be an issue?
Well, I think it comes a lot from sort of the way law has traditionally been practiced and traditionally evolved. If you think of sort of other areas of law, corporate law, litigation, there is a very argumentative element to that, and rather than taking a new approach to family, we've just taken that across. So we've got these practices that have been around for a long time, and are simply passed on to the next generation. This is how we write a letter, but actually when you look at say two companies who are arguing over a commercial or a corporate dispute, they've identified something that they need to argue over and resolve, but if you take that into the family context, it's completely different. You've probably got a family who need a solution, but you've got a child involved who's going to be impacted by that, and you need a completely different approach. But you're using this aggressive language, and it's not helping.
And because what's the implication? Say, for example, you mentioned children involved in these disputes. What's the longer term implications if the language isn't right?
So we have good evidence, and this has been done through research through the Department of Work and Pensions, that links parental conflict to harm in children. So we know parental conflict causes harm, and that's causing harm to physical harm, mental harm. It's impacting children's education, and it's impacting their futures as well, because it's leading to longer term adult health problems. It's impacting career opportunities, it's impacting their employment futures, and if you think about that, that's all going to carry out and have a wider impact on society. So the impact of parental conflict on children, we know it exists, we know it's bad not just for the children now, for the rest of their lives, and for the wider society. And if we take an aggressive letter that gets sent from one lawyer to another that's probably responded to in an aggressive way, you are perpetuating that conflict. Those parents have come to you expecting a fight because that's the way family law is presented in the media, and they've got lawyers who are helping perpetuate that conflict. So there's a direct link there between what's going on professionally and the parental conflict that's being taken by these parents who now have to go away and co-parent this child, and the impact on that child both now and in the future. So it's a very important issue.
And what kind of practical advice do you give to lawyers to kind of de-escalate the language, or what kind of techniques, something as simple as picking up the phone? But
the first thing I say is think about the language that you use, because a lot of the time we kind of go into autopilot when we know the kind of things we want to say, but really think about, do you need to be saying that? Is that going to actually help get your point across and help your client's case? But absolutely, one of the things that we are trying to get particularly young lawyers to do more of is pick up the phone and speak to the other lawyer about the case, because you will have much less conflict. You'll know you're dealing with a person. We say it's easy to write an aggressive email, but it's much more difficult to do that over the phone. But you actually want to be working with them, and picking up the phone, can be quite daunting. I still find it quite daunting sometimes. So we're looking at ways to kind of get you prepared for that call, to make your notes in advance. If they throw something difficult, you have to think about that, or just simply say, I just need to go away and think about that, and I'll come back to you. So it's about having those sort of tips available to them to give them the confidence to deal with a person, rather than hiding behind a letter that perhaps isn't going to help anyone and might make things worse.
And younger lawyers, you find, are open to this constructive way of doing things. I mean, language in society, I think younger people are more sensitive to use of language in many different fields, aren't they? And I think, do you find that there's an openness to engaging and saying, this language has an impact, it has consequences for people, and we want to try and improve it?
We've got the evidence of the consequences, so I think that's a lesson that is being picked up and is being taken forward. I do think that the younger generation are receptive, but they're worried as well. They're worried about the fact that the senior management, the people are telling them, this is how we write, this is how I want you to do that. But if they can at least take that forward themselves into their own practice, then the next generation of lawyers, of professionals, will be using better language and will help to address those problems. We have to, as a profession, we have to be the starting point of this change. If we have any hope of taking that into the wider media and the wider public, or this fundamental cultural change, which is what we're ultimately looking for.
And what about regulators and those working with solicitors as professional members? I mean, have these bodies been helpful to you in championing this cause and shedding some light on it?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've had support from Resolution. We've got Sir Andrew McFarlane, who's the president of the Family Division. This is one of his key issues that he is fully behind, and everyone is open to this. I think there is a real recognition that we've got a problem here, and I'm really pleased to say in the few years that I've been focusing on this, the response has been immense from anyone who thinks that they can actually help and make a difference. And
have you noticed in the media any changes? Does the media sort of, if challenged, kind of acknowledge that that some of the terminology they're using is outdated and just not correct?
I'd love to say an emphatic yes, but the media is a difficult one because their priorities are quite different. They're looking to sell a dramatic television show or to get a catch line on an article. So actually the work we're doing to try and engage with them and get them to recognise that actually what they're doing is perhaps by using the term custody battle. First of all, custody is a word that we recognise as being parent focused, pitches one parent against the other, not child focused. We removed from our law in the early 1990s. So when you see them using it, but they know that that's what the public will understand and latch onto. So that's probably one of our biggest challenges, and it's certainly not going to happen overnight.
And practically speaking, if people want to find out more about this initiative, or they are part of family law teams and they want to engage for training for their colleagues, where should they go for more information? Absolutely.
Well, we've got a website, which is the Family Law Language Project.co.uk. We're also on Twitter. Our handle is at the FLL Project. We're also on Instagram. We've got a LinkedIn page. So if you Google us, we'll pop up. We've got a pinned on our Twitter page. We've got a pinned post about the training. So if you are interested in that, I'm very happy to take that out and deliver that. So it doesn't have to be necessarily to family lawyers. We're looking at trying to improve the use of language in the profession generally, because anyone receiving a horrible aggressive letter is going to take that home with them, and there's just no need for that. So we are out there. We're pretty easy to find.
Fantastic. Well, look, Emma, great to talk to you today, and we look forward to sharing this interview.
Excellent. Thank you very much, David.